to the Talent Optimization Podcast, the go-to podcast for CEOs and HR professionals wanting to bridge the gap between the strategy and tactical implementation of talent optimization within their organizations. Through interviews, predictive index, and personal experience, your host, Tracy Shirk, helps you discover the facets of talent optimization from both a CEO and HR perspective to truly create the dream team for your organization. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Welcome to Talent Optimization and happy Thanksgiving. We are so thrilled that you are here with us on this day of gratitude and all of the amazing things that we have to be thankful for. So I hope that whether you're listening to this, before your Thanksgiving dinner, I know we're going to go do the turkey trot this morning. It's one of those things that fills us up before we head to our family breakfast. So I hope whatever that is, I just want to thank you for what you do and how you show up at home and at work and everything that you're doing. And we are thrilled to introduce this morning, Jen Zahari. And Jen is joining us to chat a little bit about how we show gratitude to others and how that impacts how we show up. So Jen, welcome.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me. And everyone, thank you for being here and happy Thanksgiving. I hope wherever you're at today, you take some time with who you're with, whether that be family or friends or whoever else is in your sphere, to really appreciate one another and take some time to get to know where each other's at. It's been quite the interesting last couple of years, and now is the perfect moment and the perfect day to appreciate each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting. So I was having a conversation with my kiddos, and I will name that we record this a couple of weeks ahead of time, right? So I was having a conversation with my kiddos on the way to school this morning. I have teenagers right now, and they're in their teenagerness.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that there's times where we need one of those best gifts of gratitude is creating the space for another. And I'm so curious, Jen, how do you do that?
So how do I create space? I'm going to acknowledge myself to say I have a natural gift for listening and a natural knowingness for wanting to, I have a curiousness about people. I'm so curious about what people enjoy and what makes them tick and what that thing is that lights them up. And for me, the best way to understand people is to get curious about them, genuine curiosity about who they are, what they love, what makes them tick, what makes them happy. And for me, in doing so, oftentimes people don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. They don't feel fully listened to. And when you get curious and when you turn your own needs off and you put your needs in the eyes of someone else, it's so enlightening. And for me, it's certainly growing in human behavior and understanding how people work and think.
Awesome. So I'm going to repeat back what I heard you say so that our listeners have, okay, if I want to hold space for someone, here's kind of those 3 steps that I can do it in. And that first thing that I heard you say is, one, we want to get really curious about that other person. We need to start thinking about what is it that they need. I need to stop thinking about what I need for a second and really focus on what do they need. And I can get there through being really curious.
Yes, on all accounts.
All right. Did I miss anything?
No. As I think and as I put space to how I show up for other people. And again, what a beautiful day to be airing this show, Tracy, it is appreciation for that person that's in space with you. It's appreciation for who they are as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. That appreciation. And one of those things that I think is really important, and I've been having a lot of conversations with folks about this, and that is, whether it's workplace or at home, is, there's just certain people I don't really want to be around. So, not only have we had a lot of stress that has come over the last 2 years, as you talked about, but this day of gratitude for so many folks is so incredibly stressful. And, as we celebrate the amazing things that come from Thanksgiving and all the things that we're grateful for, and as we start to close out another year, and hopefully we're closing out this pandemic, right? What are some of those kind of key things that you see in the work with your clients, specifically on anxiety and mental health, that can really support some of our listeners as they're walking into maybe a turkey dinner that they're not really thrilled about sitting next to Aunt Sally? I don't know.
I heard a couple things in there, Tracy, and definitely several that I want to come back to and dial into. One of the things you mentioned is those people that what I define as those people that spark us emotionally for some reason, right? Those people that we have in our lives, maybe at work, maybe at home, maybe family, maybe relationships that you have part of your group that you more mesh with and part of your group that, well, you don't mesh with as well, right? But everyone's together. So we get those get-togethers. And the first thing that I look at for that is knowing you. When you're the best way that you can get to be able to understand others is to get to know how you respond and why you respond to certain things that show up in those conversations. That thing that triggers you, quote unquote, listeners, you can't see me, but I'm quoting myself right now. those things that trigger you to say, wow, that person is this, right? And then we put a label on it. I feel this way because of this person. And if we strip that down and it's not that person's fault, you're feeling this way for a certain reason. And if you take a look at what is it about this conversation that's getting me emotionally right now? And if you take a look at that, oftentimes you can break that out and not be as sparked by another person. On the other side, I can tell you that I'm a firm believer that every human is amazing in their own right. Every person is different in their own right. And sometimes your personality just doesn't fit with someone else's personality. And that doesn't mean that either side is more right or more wrong. It just means that two people maybe don't belong together, right? And sometimes we can't avoid those relationships. Again, coming back to what I said earlier, in the work environment, sometimes we have to work with certain people. And in the family environment, that's family. And sometimes it's who we're brought into families with. And for both circumstances, what I recommend first for work is look for what you can give appreciation to that person for. Find their gifts. Get outside of your own self for a minute and say, okay, I have to work with this person. How can I appreciate their skill set and how they're different than me? And what boundaries can I put up for myself in this situation to work with them in a way that complements both of us? And at times that could be a shared conversation. It could be a conversation between the two of you to say, okay, we spark each other. We maybe don't necessarily get along as well as we could. How can we work in a way that honors who both of us are? And from a family setting, I have to tell you that sometimes we need to just set boundaries with certain family members. And when we're in a position like Thanksgiving, again, I come back to what I said earlier of giving thanks and appreciation to who that person is and honoring that we don't know necessarily what they have going on in their health or mind. But also if we have to just limit the amount of time we get with them while we're at family events, that's something that may need to occur as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I know this is audio versus video, but I have this plate in my office that says, I wonder what's on their plate that I don't yet know about, right? That sparking that curious question, which we chatted a little bit about earlier. And then that other side of that is really looking at and saying, which is what you just said regarding how can we honor them for who they are? One of the things that comes up so frequently is our families go from, far, far, far left politically to far, 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 far right politically. And, knowing that is, all right, so regardless of where anyone's at, how do we ensure that we keep on a conversation that is truly about that grace and that appreciation for that person. And one of those things, that there's kind of 3 steps that I've learned. And one of those is very specifically, honoring them for the passion that they have. Man, I am so grateful for the passion you have on this topic. Thank you for that. And then we can move on. I don't have to agree with them, but I can appreciate them for who they are and cut it off there. And that's also setting those boundaries.
Right. Tracy, you hit on another important point, and I call it everyone has choice. The last couple of years, I think, has really proven to a lot of people. And unfortunately, I think the last couple of years has separated people in a way that we've not been separated before because of that choice conversation. And if we can come back and start bringing that back to say, everyone has their own choice for what they choose on so many different levels. And we won't talk about any of those, but if we honor that choice and we honor that person's choice and appreciate them for, you have full ability to make your choice. I'm asking for the same respect and ability to be honored for mine. It would solve so many things. And the interesting thing about the last couple of years, I think, again, has proven is emotions can get in the way and physiology can get in the way. And the things that show up for us those ways can slow down the ability for people to be able to be mindful to say, no, that's their choice. I don't have to engage in it if I don't want to. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to actually now take that another step further and saying, in those moments, if you're with your family and as you really just want to slow down and appreciate and be thankful, if you find yourself in that state of getting heightened emotionally, or if you find yourself in that point of feeling an anxious or a panicky moment in today on this really important, thankful day, just breathe. Just take a minute and take 10 deep breaths, recenter your nervous system, remind yourself of the ability and the chance that you have to appreciate and be thankful and give gratitude to everyone in your presence, even if you're not necessarily on the same line with them in certain respects of politics or COVID or whatever it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So as we kind of start to close here today and wish everyone an amazing Thanksgiving Day, what's kind of one key takeaway that you have for our listeners?
One key takeaway as it relates to gratitude and appreciation. If I had to name one, it would be, and we've mentioned it, it's really seeing and understanding that other person. It's seeing and understanding who they are and what they like and what's important to them. And if that's all we did, it would change so many things, not just today and for all of us, but as communities and in the bigger scheme of things.
Awesome. Jen, thank you so much for chatting with us today as we head into a beautiful Thanksgiving Day. And we wish you all a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. And thank you for what you do every single day, both in the workplace, in your families, and in your communities. And with that, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Talent Optimization Podcast. You'll find more tools and resources for CEOs and HR professionals looking to bridge the strategies versus implementation gap of talent optimization at elevatedtalentconsulting.com. We've also created a free, valuable resource for you to begin bridging the gap called the Talent Optimization Foundation Membership Program. You can access it for free at elevatedtalentconsulting.com/foundation. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode to learn more about talent optimization and creating a dream team for your organization.